welcome back. This is the fourth video series, and this one's going to talk about step 2 in our quick start guide, which is start reading the nutrition labels. So um, it's one of these things that I think just this tip alone could help anybody to get into better shape, especially if they're struggling with like overeating and food and whatnot. Because it's one of these things. It's when you have the awareness and once you kind of recognize what's happening, then you're like, whoa. It makes making the right decision, I guess, that much easier. So I have a couple of items around me, and I'll kind of like try to show you guys how to specifically to read it. But the general rule is, again, especially if you're following keto, the keto diet is high fat, low carbs, moderate protein. So a lot of the time, the main macros that we're looking for, we're going to look at the fat content. We're going to look at the net carbs, and I'll explain how to calculate net carbs. And then we're going to look at the protein. And once we kind of have a good understanding of that, we're kind of going to, I have some general rules, etc. So let me first talk about net carbs, right? Again, there is some debate out there about when you're tracking, do you use net carbs or total carbs? I generally am in the camp of net carbs because the way you calculate net carbs is you do total carbs, then from that you subtract the dietary fiber, and then from that you subtract the sugar alcohol. Don't 100% understand the science, but what I believe is that your body metabolizes the sugar alcohols different, so you can count them, you can not count them. Really look at, like, my main thing I'm looking at is going to be total carbs minus fiber, and then if I'm feeling like I want something that I maybe know I shouldn't have, but it's made with sugar alcohols instead of regular sugar, I'll include it. But again, total carbs minus fiber minus sugar alcohols is how you calculate net carbs. And I generally look for, my experience is the fat piece of the equation is the hardest to hit. So I intentionally try to overestimate how much fat. So I look for like a 2-to-1 ratio of fat to protein, 2 fats to 1 protein, because it's usually easy to get your protein in, at least for me, and I just found it harder to get my fats in. So I always try to do, look for things that are, especially meats, that are like 2-to-1 ratio. It's good too, to be honest with you. But 2-to-1 is what I kind of shoot for, at least in the beginning, right? Again, carbs doesn't matter. 5% of your total daily calories. For me, when I was first doing keto, I would try to keep it less than 20 net carbs, just as an easy rule of math. So let's see if this works. I have a couple of like my favorites. So this first one here is pepperoni, just because it's easy, it's quick. Go to the fridge and grab some if I'm hungry. Let me see if you can kind of see the light. No, I don't think it's going to work, but okay, maybe. Okay, so you have total fat right there, right? On this one, total fat is 11. And then protein is 6. So that's, I like, this is one that I like because it has a good ratio of fat to carbs. Excuse me, fat to protein. So I like this one. And then it's 1 carb, and there's no fiber and no sugar, so it's 1 net carb. One thing that I want to tell you too, that why I made the comments, like anybody who starts doing this just becomes aware. I think the other thing too is you just become aware what the portion size is. So like before I'd be like, oh, portion size is like 1 package, and so if I eat this whole package, it's only 120 calories, right? Well, portion, 4 servings in this whole package, and each serving is about 5 slices. So again, once you kind of have the awareness of all that, it makes it easier to, in my opinion, to kind of understand everything. I mentioned this in the last video, so I'll show you. Like, here was the salad dressing, and here were the almonds. Like, I wasn't joking. Like, that was for real. That was real life. And I probably won't be able to show you guys here, but I like this brand of salad dressings. And the reason being is because in addition to, like, we'll talk, like, remember, clean over dirty, this is organic, and it also has all of these labels on it too, which make me feel good. It says Whole 30 approved, keto diet approved. I guess that's what the keto diet label looks like. And certified kosher. Then it also says it's dairy-free, gluten-free, cage egg-free, and sugar-free, which again, that seems good. It's super high fat, right? So it's 20 grams of fat. It has 1 carb. There's no fiber, no sugars, so it's 1 net carb and 0 protein. So again, salad dressings I really like, especially this brand, to make sure I'm getting my fats in. And here's one that's fun too. Like I said, the almonds, right? So one, knowing what a portion size is for the almonds is very helpful. I have a food scale that kind of helps me. And on this one, it says you can count 28 almonds. That's another way to do it. Sure, if you want to count 28. Look, if you look here, actually this one's coming through maybe a little bit better. Maybe not. All right, 16 grams of fat and 5 carbs, 3 fibers, right? So the net carbs on this one, right? 5 carbs, 3 fibers. So the net carb is 2 net carbs. And like you see right there, it actually says it, 2 net carbs. So per serving, right? That's not a serving, it's not a handful. A serving is an ounce, which is about nuts. So just kind of be very cognizant of that. Again, this meets my like 2 for 1. This is total fat of 16, but total proteins per serving of 6. So it's more than 2 for 1. This one that I'll actually I got 2 more. This one's bad. But you know, juices, like I think I said this before in the last video, generally fruits are not very good for keto. There's some exceptions to the rule, like blueberries, I think some berries. I generally don't eat fruits. I eat a lot of salads, and I'll talk about that later. But I eat a lot of green leafy vegetables, broccoli, asparagus, kale, romaine lettuce, etc. But I generally don't eat any fruits, and that definitely means I don't eat fruit juices, right? You can just look at this one, and again, you probably can't see. It says 28 sugars. Like, there's no way that this would fit into your macros. So I like juice is probably off limits, and that's generally inclusive of like tomato juices like V8 and things like that. And then this is actually go-to for me. This is the Kirkland's protein bar, and this is one of those that it's kind of tricky. I'll be honest with you, it's probably a little bit of marketing, but I'm a digital marketing guy, so I appreciate that. So serving size is 1 bar, and it has 21 grams of protein, and total fat is 7 grams, right? So definitely not exactly the right macros, but let's do a carb count on this, right? So total carbs is 22, and you may read that off the bat and be like, there's no way, right? But then they have, right next to that is fiber. Fiber is 15. So whatever that math is, that's, I might get this wrong, but I think we're at 7. We're at 7 net carbs, and it's 4 grams of, I could never pronounce this word, but I think it's erythritol. It's a sugar alcohol, right? So you're down to 3 net carbs for the whole bar, which is not bad, right? Because, like, for example, I was at a birthday party this past weekend. Everybody was eating cake, and I was eating a chocolate chip cookie dough protein bar. So I still got to participate in the celebrations, the dessert and whatnot, but I was eating a protein bar while everybody's eating like cake and cupcakes. Anyways, that's kind of the tip, is start reading the nutrition labels. The main things that you're looking for are the big macros, and know that if you want, you can use net carbs as a calculation. Net carbs is carbs minus fiber minus sugar alcohol. So, all right, we'll see you guys in the next video.